Welcome to the Aviation Report podcast, the show where we are going to sit down with executives, innovators, and industry leaders shaping our future of air travel. Every episode gives you industry access to the decisions, strategies, and technologies that are transforming airports and aviation operations across the globe. I'm Jennifer Shaw, and I've spent nearly 15 years working across the aviation sector. I've been focusing on technology that enhances the passenger experience and operational efficiency of the airports. I just want to say, I love being a part of connecting passengers with where they're going. There is something special about being a part, even indirectly, of those meaningful journeys. We're just one piece of that larger picture. You get to witness and facilitate all of these significant moments in people's lives, from joyous celebrations to important reunions. It's just really spectacular to be a part of that. Today's episode comes at a pivotal moment for airports everywhere. Across the country, we're seeing a once-in-generation surge of airport modernization and expansion. Billions of dollars are flowing into new terminals, terminal renovations, stronger capacity, integrated technology, and entirely reimagined passenger experiences. As recent industry analysis highlights, this momentum is being driven by rapid passenger growth, aging infrastructure, and the urgent need for smarter, revenue-diversifying systems. These are all pushing airports to evolve faster than they ever have. And few airports capture this transformation more vividly than Miami International Airport. To explore how MIA is preparing for the next decade of growth, from Concourse K to biometrics, Internet of Things infrastructure, geospatial architecture, and its ambitious future-ready program, we're joined by someone leading that vision right from the inside. Maurice Jenkins, Miami's Chief Innovation and Customer Experience Officer, gives us a rare look at how you modernize a global 24/7 airport while keeping the operations seamless for millions of passengers. Let's jump into the conversation. Hey, Maurice, thank you so much for joining us today. Looking forward to having an active discussion with you about Miami. So for listeners that may not be familiar with MIA, could you just give us a snapshot of your airport and what your role is there in Miami?
Miami International is one of the key economic engines for Miami-Dade County. That and our seaport collectively drives a strong portion of economics in regards from a revenue perspective, an employment perspective, and it's just drawing a resource of Miami as a community where everyone wants to be. It's booming, it's growing, and we're almost bustling at the seams. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. But we want to plan for that, right? So we're looking at what the capacity of the airport is, and we want to get to that point of future-proofing the airport. So it goes into what you asked me what my role is. So as the Chief Innovation and Customer Experience Officer, my goal is to how do we challenge the system a little bit, being a little bit more innovative, more creative in what we do, looking at our business processes and how do we make those a little bit more improved, so to speak. How do we get around, wrap our hand around the dynamics of being able to meet consumer and customer demand, both internal customers and external customers, meeting the demands and their expectations of how you do deliver. And the mantra is excellence, right? How do you continue to deliver that level of excellence with an airport that has to run 24/7 as you're doing construction, as you're dealing with the moniker of what does my airport look like? Or I don't want to come through the airport, but you need the airport. It's a heavy lift, but there's a balance that needs to come along with that. And it's a challenge, it's a charge, and it's something that Miami has stepped up to. And along with our executive leadership, our mayor and our board of county commissioners and my CEO, it's like there's a charter and a charge to let's step it up a notch. And our goal is to step it up a notch and exceed customer expectations.
And with such a big expansion project and so many different stakeholders, how do you all manage to ensure that your departments, stay on the same page with the vision?
It's executive leadership and having the ability of our CEO of getting all the stakeholders together in a room and looking at what the vision, mission, and what the values are, and ensuring that is communicated from the top down. We know how to play our roles and integrate that together to go ahead and deliver on those expectations to meet the demand. I mean, it's a heavy lift. I'm sure you've seen in the papers and the publications. We're building a brand new Concourse K to go ahead and add support to the footprint of the airport and tying a lot of innovation around that. As we're growing, we call ourselves MIA, and it's not just Miami International Airport anymore. It's our modernization in action. We are modernizing the airport at the same time. So what you saw in Miami before and what you're seeing in Miami now and what the future looks like, it's going to be transformative. It's not going to be the airport that you once saw before. And to effectively do that is all the stakeholders and our business units, but even within the airport, getting together and understanding what that mission is and what those core values are going to be to get us there.
And a lot of the information that Miami shares with the public, future ready seems to be a very common term. Could you speak to what that means for MIA?
We're ready for the future. The environment is changing. The level of demands, the consumer demands of changing. There's more flights. There are more expectations. You want on-time departures. You want on-time arrivals. You want various food items in your concession. You want accessibility to the parking garage and various levels of technology. You want to be able to traverse through your airport seamlessly. All of these items are synonymous as to what the future is. And we've talked about that, I think, in various conferences around the world. It's preparing for the future. And the rule of thumb is, and I think I've said this in the past, and for your audience to understand is, the aviation industry moves over 4 billion people globally across our ecosystem. That's 4 billion with a B. In the next 8 to 10 years, that's supposed to get up to being almost 10 billion. It's supposed to double. How can you do that and say that you're not future ready if you're not looking at innovation? You're not looking at effective construction development. You're not looking at technology. You're not looking at business process improvements. You're not looking at safety and security. If you're not looking at all of these facets to allow you to be able to get on that plane timely, efficiently, have access to resources, being able to pick and choose what you have for your food and beverage, being able to buy your sundry items, being able to access Wi-Fi with multiple devices to ensure the kids are also happy. And having a common up-to-date playground for the kids to play in. All of these things tie into what we say what the experience is, because you want to come to an airport. It's an experience. It's not just getting on and off of an aircraft anymore, right? It's like any place else that you go. So you want to leave an impression. So what does the future hold? When you compare yourself to other airports globally, what are they doing? What does that look and feel look like? So you want to have that lasting impression like, yes, I'm going to Miami. I can expect this. I can expect that. I can expect some amenities and I can have a reasonable level of expectation that those expectations are going to be exceeded. That's planning for the future.
And you talk about that big picture. What are some of the key innovations that you see coming into play, with innovation, upgrades for that passenger experience? What are the exciting things coming for the
Uh,
passengers?
there's a couple of things coming. So one we expect to launch shortly. So we are working on, and I think it was displayed in Toronto, I think last week or 2 weeks ago. We're working on a new hologram technology integrated to what I call an omnichannel chatbot, in which you'll have this ability to be able to engage with the hologram and engage with finding what's going on in the airport and getting access to resources and lost and found, all the resources that you normally would pick up the phone or go to a mobile app to get. We're finding that passengers, customers, employees, everyone wants accessibility information a little bit more real time, easily accessible without having to download another app. Or if you do that, you'd have to delete an app. And that's that balance, that dichotomy that you're trying to go ahead and play with, is being able to launch that experience and based upon that, enhance that experience. As you also know, we're doing a lot of things in the biometric space and for international departure flights. We'll be looking at, after that is complete, evaluating how can we look at something like that for domestic flights? How can you look at something like that for lounge access or food and beverage acquisition? We want to play with the different technologies out there. And the reason why we say that and think about it for your audience is, I mean, we're dealing with 2025 today, but a lot of the things that you're doing today, you were doing 5, 10, 15 years ago. Your boarding pass went from paper to mobile, but you still have to show a boarding pass. You still have to show ID. But why are we not looking at other technologies that we can integrate and work with our business partners like CBP and TSA and other regulatory bodies of how else can we improve the experience factor and just normalize that a little bit more?
In your role, it looks like you've got a dual role as not only the chief innovation officer, but also the chief customer experience officer. With the construction project, I know, kind of customer experience can at times be a challenge. How do you see that role, the dual role, coming into play with everything going on down there?
I think, that's a great question. It has a great synergy because you need both to be able to look at how do you meet consumer expectations. And then we're all consumers, whether you're an employee or a traveling public. So we look at innovation to improve business processes, to be able to leverage that to deliver on those services, right? So you take that to meet the customer experience expectation and demand, but you don't know what the customer experience should look like, and what does that entail? So you start to look at, and I'm a data person. So from my innovation side of the house is we're harnessing a lot of data that we get from JD Power, ASQ, Airport Service Quality, the feedback and the sentiment we're getting from the traveling public or what their expectations are. Taking that data and we'll um, evaluate that data and look at, so based upon that, there's a level of expectation for the customer. And then we're looking at some AI modeling around that as well. So based upon that, this is what our customers are experiencing, they should experience. Right? I have a philosophy. I subscribe to 5 a day, which means before I walk into my office, my goal is to help 5 people every day, somewhere along the line. And my philosophy has been, if someone's looking up or looking down, guess what? They need help or they're lost, which means we're missing something and we have it. Maybe we haven't defined it, maybe we haven't presented it, or maybe it's something else we need to add to our toolkit to allow that level of passenger self-sufficiency, right? So we want to cater to all facets of, you should be able to traverse through my airport as seamlessly as possible with hitting various touch points to be able to engage. The goal is, at the end of the day for me, is I want you to always have that golden hour. I want you to have that euphoric moment where I want you to spend. I want you to say, I'm having an experience coming through MIA. And if it's a bad experience, tell me what that bad experience is. So I want to fix it, because one individual speaks on behalf of multiple, which means there's something that we may have overlooked. And we don't know what we don't know, but we need to know.
So with construction projects, they take a good amount of time. And I know for this project in particular, it's expected to go through 2035. With innovation changing so quickly these days, how do you future prepare for technology that may not even exist today?
Oh, great question. Great question. That itself is a challenge. So our goal and the intent is, I rely on being able to engage with entities that sit out there in the private sector and see what the future holds. One of the benefits I get from sitting on several boards, such as IAR and some things with Terrapin and several others, as well as UK media out of the UK, and being able to do conferences and moderating events, seeing startups, being able to have those levels of engagement with entities like them across the entire global ecosystem gives me a little bit of a head up of what's maybe coming down the pike that I might be able to evaluate and potentially inject into the airport ecosystem, and I can actually plan for. With the new levels of technology today, normally you can design something for 3, 5 years, and now you're probably reaching functional obsolescence within a year or two. But yeah, it becomes a strategic challenge for the CIOs and the chief innovation officers of the world. How do you plan and try to future-proof the technology that you've purchased without having to deal with sunk costs relatively quickly? So it is a challenge, but you need to be able to engage and have those relationships with the business entities, the private sector guys sitting out there, and making that happen and bringing some of those tools in-house, more training and enhancing. And the biggest thing we have to realize with taking all of that is also ensuring that we're also working well with our human capital, and our internal employees are a critical component. ensure that they're trained and they're up to date in the newest technology so they can and solicit their ideas as well. So no stone is left unturned, especially from the innovation side of the house. Our goal is to innovate. Our goal is to extend our resources, our reach, our tentacles across the entire ecosystem. We're open to every idea because there may be something out there that we're not seeing that they may have seen somewhere else that we can evaluate, we can capitalize on.
So let's talk about some of the legacy technologies that some people may not even consider a technology. So, like your escalators, your people movers, the conveyors in the parking garages and such. How do you split your time between some of these new and upcoming, biometrics and AI versus, some of these legacy systems that you also have under your realm?
Well, it's a lot, and I have the kudos to the team that has been maintaining those for so long. A lot of the equipment is older equipment, and they've been exercised for a long period of time, and probably should have been sunsetted already. But we've been maintaining so long that we've maintained the upkeep, and we finally reached the point that modernization in action, as MIA. We're modernizing all of that. I think it's over $1 billion being spent to bring all of those up to the latest technology, tying IoT sensors to them, more predictability for mean time for failure to ensure that we maintain them long into the future. But it has to happen. I think with every environment, not just an airport, but any operational environment that has conveyances that are more than 20 years old, which exceeds life expectancy, you're going to run into some of these challenges. So we get to learn from that and apply new technologies around it, new maintenance plans around it, and new training and opportunities around it. But yeah, it's a good balance and mix. But to be honest with you, when that brought about the technology for us that we're able to load sensors into our conveyances so we can determine failure points, so we can get in front of them a lot more quicker and getting them back up and operational rather than downtime. So we've been able to mitigate downtime very quickly. And now that's stepped up as they're being modernized. So it has, I'll treat it as a great lessons learned as we're moving forward and we're taking it into the future. We're more prepared. We're going to get to better predictability to be able to evaluate. We can almost determine mean time for failure for certain conveyances and maybe do the maintenance ahead of time. All these types of things we want to do. And it's not just those. We're looking at loading bridges, anything that can have an IoT device attached to it is what we're looking to do. So that would be fantastic.
And Miami's known, for being a leader in innovation. What particular systems or processes do you feel like, kind of set the model for other airports that are going through similar projects like you guys are with the expansion?
I think for what we've looked at as designing that we want to go, let's say Airport 2.0. We want to do sensors for everything, tying that with our geospatial team. And we're tying that and leveraging Esri and some other developmental tools. A lot of entities have gone to digital twins, so almost to the point where digital twin is almost a passé word, but it's, our geospatial architecture is building a framework to integrate all of our devices and airport operations just to go be able to have a very better holistic view of the airport and and start looking at creating simulation and models and creating what if scenarios to surround that and how best we can now support the enterprise a little bit more. So you're looking at that technology, looking at the business process improvements as we work with our stakeholders. A lot of times that we've seen is some business units may be working on other things and outside entities may be looking at certain facets. It's bringing everybody to the table and creating a better framework for what we do now, how we do it. But what does the future look like if we're able to integrate our resources and collaborate a little bit more? So the C word's coming up a lot more. There's more collaborative engagements across the entire ecosystem. And I'm not just talking about internal airport employee operating divisions. It's working with the janitorial team and it's working with the Homeland Security folks and it's working with the ground handling folks. It's putting all of these together and say, what does this ecosystem look like? And is there overlap? Well, how can we work and streamline and enhance our business processes?
From an internal alignment, like I said, you've got so many stakeholders there within the airport. How do you guys, keep the culture of building the practices and keeping everybody aligned with all that's going on there within the airport space?
Well, from an innovation perspective, it's We're with my team. We're working on creating and establishing a culture of innovation. What is it? Because it's not easy. So we are working on creating an ISO certification for 56,000, I believe, which is being certified in innovation. Most of my team just got finished their certification, innovation certifications. There's a chief innovation one that I need to work on. I've been mandated by my team before they beat me up, so I need to do that as well with them. But we're taking that culture, we're taking that mantra, and we're presenting it to the airlines. We're presenting it to our management companies. We're presenting it to anyone that wants to hear, because that culture starts internally. And having the support of our executive leadership, which is great. I have an executive innovation council that we present items to, and they have been the most supportive, starting with our CEO and our deputy directors down, and which basically gives us the executive buy-in that we're going down the right path. So we're establishing good governance and good governance opportunities and procedures to move forward. And it builds upon the framework of an airport. For basically any organization, you should be able to take this philosophy and apply it to any vertical, but applying it to an airport to be able to establish that and then do best practices around it allows you to open up the future opportunities.
A lot of passengers, the airport is just like an intermediary between where they are and where they're trying to get to. And how would you say airports get back to reclaiming, like having a specific known, culture, or like being a specific known destination in itself as the airport versus just, the city that the passenger's going to next?
Well, it goes back to, I think, what I was saying earlier before we started. It's like, we want to bring sexy back to an airport. People say, I don't want to just jump on a plane, get to an airport so I can go get to, I don't know, Lollapalooza. I want to go to an airport because when I get off at the airport, because I have friends that go to certain airports, like when I get off the airport at Heathrow, I must go here and get this, right? So when I say, I want to be able to say, when you get off the airport in Miami, not in a rush to get to bag claim. Miami has a nice wine bar. We have a nice fish and chips place. We have it duty free if you're leaving, but we have something that says you have to stop and get this before you go. Or when I leave, I must be able to, because it's an experience. So basically building on the airport experience and get back to that. With the hustle and bustle. And I get it, right? So now it used to be you get to the airport, people are coming just before it's time for their flight because, granted, do I have something to do or not do? And I've gotten overly creative at one point in time. I said, with the space that we have a yoga room, a meditation room, and all of that. I actually contemplated one time, it's like, do we have space and can we do a pickleball court? Can we get you to get here and so, but nothing is off the table, right? But at the end of the day, is
Right.
if you're catching a flight and you want to unwind a little bit, and why not? It's the simple things. That's why I always say consumer comments, because if someone says that, it's something that they may have a prescribed need for, and they may not be the only one. So if it's something that you could deliver upon, then why not? People always say, as long as I have ample charging stations and I could charge my 8 devices, I'm great. But is there something else that you would like to see to have, rather than I'm just going to get on the plane, get off, grab my bag, and go? I just want to make
Mhm.
sure. But why am I in a rush to do that if I know for a fact that I'm giving you an experience and I'm giving you data? So let's say when we talked about the holograms earlier, when I get off, I can go to the chat bot. I just got off my flight at this gate. How long should it take me to get to this baggage claim, and how long should I expect before my first bag arrives? If they're saying based upon this data, it may take you, I don't know, 18 minutes, then you're like, okay, I got 18 minutes to walk from here to there and another 10 minutes to wait for my bag. Okay, maybe I could stop and go. So now it's you as a consumer, you get to make the decision as to how fast you want to walk or how slow you want to walk. Do I have time to stop and grab something as I keep going? Your bag will be there, right? So create this mindset. Is the goal of flying and goal of transport is to de-stress you, not stress you. So I would like to get you to that environment.
Absolutely. Yep. And I would say flying in and out of Miami as a native Floridian so much, one of my favorite things about your airport is the excellent coffee. You
Hey,
guys have
for
the
me,
best coffee.
you have to get a colada or a cortadito or a café con leche. And
Yes.
it's a staple, right? So so we need to do more. Maybe I may get a response that says, you maybe I need more of those throughout the airport. You know, We're like E.F. Hutton. If you ask, we'll listen, and we'll go from there. But that feedback is what helps.
Well, we've had a pretty good hurricane season this year for the state of Florida. But in years past, obviously, Miami's been right in the not so great area. When it comes to unpredictable things like weather and space, how does Miami prepare for, some of these extreme events that we've gone through in the past?
We have a great team every year when it comes up to hurricane season. Everybody from our HR unit, which is absolutely fantastic, our ops. We have pre-hurricane procedures. I mean, like disaster, but anything else, we sit down and when the season's about to start, we run some drills and we'll examine how we fared the previous year, whether we had a situation or instance or not, and go through that. And we go through everything, and it's a detailed plan of getting everybody, even definitely procurement. Like, do we have ample supplies? Do we have batteries? Do we have cots, blankets? Do we have water? Do we have generators? Are they powered up? Do we have contracts for fuel? From a telecommunications side, our cell phones are on FirstNet to ensure that we have the first right of access to ensure the airport's operational. How do we deal with our fleet? And how do we coordinate that with federal agencies? How do we coordinate and facilitate that with the seaport? It is a full detail preparation plan to ensure that we keep the traveling public safe, we keep our customers safe, but we make sure that we can actually respond right after a situation when necessary to make sure that we're back where we need to be, some level of normalcy, so we can triage where necessary or get airport operations back open and as quickly as possible in the event that we close. And by the way, we never close as much as we can't close. But operationally, you get the right resources and the people together, and that collectively, that's one of our biggest strengths in that coordination effort. Everybody goes through ad nauseum what their roles are, and in preparation, pre, during, and post.
Let's talk a little bit about your innovation team. I know you've got that incredible innovation lab there in Miami. Tell us about your team and what you guys have been working on.
I have the best of the best. Love them to death in regards to working on everything possible. One, to ensure that our governance and our standards are in place. The team has been fantastic. And believe it or not, we also have a registered architect as part of our CX team. And so when we look at innovation, innovation is not just tech. We look at creating a sense of place. We want that comfort feel. We're building out the whole framework in the lab of what people will look at on the seating, the color of floor tiles and ceiling tiles. How do we maximize look? We just did a deployment at one of the checkpoints with new stanchions, look, feel. Got great responses back from our regulatory bodies on it. All of these simple things, we just get in there. It's like a bunch of mad scientists, right? But we sit down and we go through it. I mean, the entire team as to what they're charged to do and what we come up with. And the user community would like for us to examine and trial to see whether it fits into the ecosystem, robotic solutions. And we did one with autonomous lawnmowers, and we're moving forward with that pretty soon for airport deployment going into next year. So a lot of things, but their goal is to ensure that we create good policy, good standards. And oh, by the way, I believe it was announced today, we did a hackathon. We were part of a hackathon last week, and it was the Innovation Airport team that actually won first place using AI and agents,
Wow.
sponsored by Microsoft. So it was just a great opportunity with a great team, and they like to be challenged, and they're being challenged.
Incredible. I can't wait to see what comes out of all of the terminal modernization and exciting stuff, really. One last question for you. Again, going back to your experience in this industry, what's one piece of advice that you would offer to other airport leaders as far as, innovation and how it plays into major capital expansion?
Ensure innovation needs to have a seat at the table. That's the key. As you're planning, as you're doing modernization, as you're looking at development, uh, innovation needs to have a seat at the table. Your sustainability team needs to have a seat at the table, because the future is ensuring that you can leverage your resources that you have today and what resources are required to go into the future. And also, don't be afraid to come out of your comfort zone. Challenge the system a little bit, because there are truly opportunities out there that you can engage upon. So when you have great thought leaders, it's gather additional resources around you and go from being a great thought leader to an excellent thought leader.
Great. Maurice, thank you very much for your time today. We really appreciate it and look forward to talking with you again soon.
My pleasure. All the best.
Thank you for listening to the Aviation Report podcast. I'm executive producer Julie Gates. The podcast is being brought to you by Modaxo, passionate about moving the world's people. Our team includes producer Chris O'Keefe, editor Patrick Emile, associate producer Cindy Raskin, executive producer Trisha Murray, and our host, Jennifer Shaw. To follow the show, visit theaviation.report or find us on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening.